What's happening, YouTube? Again, let's do some analysis of the analysis of the analysis. I mean, we're all guilty of this. We form an opinion based on what we read. This is how a narrative can affect our free will. So if we have a look at this one, Canadian exchange begin to enforce annual net buy limits. They're funneling us to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. I laugh because Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash, they reckon they're the ones that we should be buying. They're really the most innovative cryptocurrencies of the time. Lol. Then we have the actual motivation behind this. These exchanges, are they actually offering like leverage trading and things like that? Because that makes me wonder, you know, are they just trying to funnel us all into having the best liquidity pair for them to trade on us and dump on us? Who knows? All I can say about this is it's not crypto friendly. They're being flagged as basically a non-crypto friendly nation. Simple as that. Stifling innovation. That's what I was going to say. Innovation is what? The action of a new method, idea, or product, etc. A new method, idea, or product. So how do you arrive at a new method, idea, or product? You would probably not do the same thing over and over again. You know, like being forced to buy the same 4 cryptocurrencies over and over again. But you know, that's just the definition of innovation, that's all. Just some basic English definitions. Moving on quickly, we have the crisis brewing in China is likely to affect everyone. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there might be a surprise coming for us in October. Who knows? If you have a look at the Taiwan-China situation, you've got politicians flying over to Taiwan, stoking the wars of fire. Because what's more profitable than a war? Not just for one side, say the US, not just for one side, say China, but their contractors, their own military-industrial complexes. And without a secondary power to fight against, how are you ever going to have a war? How's one nation going to collect on the other nation? If it's financed by both, if both sides are being financed, who's losing in this battle, you know? Ukraine, they said it themselves. They're able to test all the latest weaponry, both sides, to see how they go. Makes you wonder. The last country that tried to start its own gold standard, their leader did not end up in a good way. Muammar Gaddafi, I'm pretty sure it was, Libya. You know, he was trying to free his people, show them wealth they've never experienced before. Well, some people didn't like that because he was trying to open or start his own gold standard, his own crypto, his own currency backed by gold. Things didn't end too well for him, and that freaked Russia out. You know, Putin saw that and was like, "What the fuck? You do that to him? You could do that to me." Maybe trust was lost. Who knows? Who knows? But look it up, people. This is like real facts. Again, the October surprise. Because what comes after October? November. People have said, rightly so, that the elections can, you know, affect the geopolitical events. They can influence them. Interest rates, what are they going to do during an election? What's it going to look like if there's a war going on in an election? These are just things to consider when looking at the markets in general. But yeah, studies have found increasing fear of China tensions and possibility of war. Like I said, the October surprise, people. I hope not. But let's have a look what else is going on, you know. US delegation led by Indiana Gov lands in Taiwan. Japanese lawmakers also make a visit. So everyone's doing the rounds. You've got war games going on that war ceased. I don't know if you guys remember when Trump went over to North Korea. Basically had a look what was going on, and pretty sure that's the first time that's ever happened. South Korea and North Korea are still technically at war, you know. The demilitarized zone. I've heard some pretty interesting stories. Again, all online. Now, these drills are flaring up. People were saying, you know, World War III is coming because China's engaging with military exercises with Russia near the where is it? On the Chinese eastern border. India's there too, apparently, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I reckon it was organized well in advance. So whether or not Russia's special military exercise just happened to coincide with this, who knows? I mean, it is quite possible. Again, it's just an exercise and moving troops around. But also at the same time, if they're armed and ready, who knows what? You know, if they're armed and ready and they happen to be in that position and someone miscalculates, there's an increased risk of miscalculations. And no one wants that. Mutually assured destruction, you know? Now, I don't know. It's been 4 years since this site was basically censored off the internet, you know? It's not supposed to exist. And could be mistaken, but now Andrew Tate has been banned off of several platforms. I won't play that on here, but I will cover this here. Not to get too political, but I don't disagree with this. I mean, who am I to interfere with US politics? But I'm allowed to analyse it. Viewing from Australia, we see DeSantis. Every single mandate must be removed, and injuries caused by vaccines should be able to sue. Do not disagree with that at all. Moving on. See, this is sad, man. Majority believe USA's best days are behind them. And also on Drudge Report, we see TikTok and Facebook have banned self-described Andrew Tate, you know? Why did they feel the need to censor him now? Is he going to be subject to the same treatment that other platforms had been subject to? I mean, as a Mexican who followed the other platform as well before becoming a Mexican, it's almost as if it's just been constant censorship. You see your freedoms of speech being taken away. Australia, we've got freedom of political free speech, but apparently we don't. Especially when something else landed, took away more freedoms. And now we see someone else up and coming. Not so much up and coming, but becoming more mainstream, you know? A lot of people were hearing about him. Everyone's like, oh, where's he coming from? Where's he coming from? Wow, he's just appeared from nowhere. There was a very large social media presence. And look what happens. He gets censored into oblivion. I keep telling people, man, no one listens. If it can happen to one person, just because you don't like him, because if you disagree with them, and you think they should be censored, that same thing can happen to you. Like, all this politics bullshit. They bring out this law, that regulation. Oh, it's so wonderful until it's turned on you. You know, it's like you don't care until it's affecting you directly. And what happened in the last few years? Did anything affect you directly at your own house? I can think of a few things, you know. Still, can you even talk about it? It's questionable. All it takes, you know, it's all it takes. Now, how does this affect the market? As you remember, in my first article, I spoke about exchanges influencing innovation, influencing your free will, not allowing people to trade with certain amounts of money. If you are a large hedge fund on the stock market, you can't just go and buy whatever you want. You have a set list of investments. You might think, oh, I've got a hedge fund. I can buy whatever I want. You have a look. What can you pick? What can you tick against that? It's not whatever you want. It's the different baskets, man. What do I know? I might have worked in the field. Don't know. But we have Wall Street bears taking revenge after a $7 trillion rally. Basically, people think once the inflation is under control and the rates are going to get, maybe they reduce the rates, it's going to be blue sky. Maybe. But I keep falling back to the inverted yield curve that tends to signal before recessions occur. Now, if you're already in a recession and you trigger your flags as triggering a recession coming, and you have heads of certain banks saying something worse than a recession is coming, the only thing worse than a recession is a depression. If they're signaling that to the market in a time of great instability with geopolitics, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, the Middle East, cybersecurity, supply lines, shortages, healthcare. Oh, and then we have 6 months of the war. Even though Russia refuses to call it a war, they still say it's a special where is it? A special military exercise or something like that, And winter's coming for the EU. And if Russia cuts off completely supplies to the EU, with people madly searching for firewood, madly buying fire stove tops that use firewood, it's not a good position to be in. It's not good at all. If people want a war, the people have to actually want it. And if you're pissing off both sides, man, and you're funding both sides of the war, you won't dislike this. If you're struggling and all you hear is propaganda saying Russia's bad, China's bad, you might get the mentality, fuck them. If enough people get that mentality, wars can happen. Then you see this. See, I didn't really want to cover this as like breaking news when it first happened, because I was like, what is going on here, man? But this is how, I think it's been said, this is how World War I started. Certain people started being assassinated, basically, or dying in ways like this, which triggers off certain other events. That triggers larger events in a heightened risk environment with a bad, shaky economy, with supply line shortages, with something never seen before that affected us all mentally, I would say, with the restrictions of movement, with the health issues that are ongoing, with other nations growing more militarily large, who previously were not, who were previously agreed to be the economic powerhouse for the global economy, who decided to also produce large naval fleets capable of traveling and sending those troops abroad by air, by boat, developing hypersonics, developing AI, constantly attacking through cyber attacks, constantly interfering with everything possible under the sun in every other country where they shouldn't be messing with it. That, on top of this, on top of the exercise going on in Ukraine, where they're testing weapons out with each other, no one thought that this was going to happen. Russia was going to actually go into Ukraine. When they did, it won't last long. Slowly and slowly, more countries are sending more military lethal aid into these areas. Who's winning here? People are dying. The city's being crushed. huge instability across the globe. All the test weapons that cost money. They're racking up a huge bill. Every missile fire that Ukraine fires, it's a bill they have to repay to whoever gave it to them. And so far, who's the largest shipper of arms to Ukraine? It's pretty simple, man. Pretty simple. Remember that US tech lock? Every country's got it. Everyone. So, yeah, attacks are mounting in Crimea. Kremlin faces rising domestic pressures. So maybe people will tear themselves down from the inside, you know? I don't know. Don't know. This is the article basically saying, you know, the US is heading in the wrong direction. So, forget about all the politics. The US war with Russia, basically. 2 nuclear powers going at it. Forget about China's closely monitoring Ukraine and how this situation is unfolding and whether or not people respond and how they respond, people's capabilities and all that. Forget about that. Think about when you, as a individual, voted either way. Did you think that your government would do this to you? Do you think they would lock you down? Do you think they would make decisions that would increase the likelihood of war? Did you really think that the economy would be the way it is now? Either way, in an election when you vote, you don't think that it's going to get worse. You want to vote for something that's better, you know? So my analysis, looking in, under the previous president, although there was a lot of negativity about it, he was unorthodox, people didn't like him, people said he was incompetent. For some reason, the world seemed calmer. There was no war. Gas prices were cheaper. There was more jobs. The borders were secure. Then something came along which affected everything, which allowed for postal voting, which made it easier, you know, for people to put their feedback in. I know here in Australia, after being locked down, after experiencing everything I saw on the news that was reported, being tricked by videos that were not true, believing that. And this was early on in the pandemic. I saw like zombie horror movies, made me think that's what's happening. As time unfolded, it was worse than that. In a different way, you know? In a way that led towards more control. The Chinese economy is going for zero lockdown policy towards the virus. They don't want any cases. It's allowing them to lock down their citizens. It's allowing them to have a social credit score, which can essentially freeze them from moving around because they've chosen the zero tolerance approach. Now, other countries have realized maybe this is a thing. Maybe it's not such a good idea to follow a communist regime, even though the technologies that they bought was directly from them. Even though mass interference is taking place. Even though there's a heavy reliance. It's just concerning that the war is ongoing and there could be more coming. And what will that do to markets? What will that do to the stock exchange? What will that do to cryptocurrency? What will that do more to our freedoms? I've already seen a lot of freedoms lost. I don't think they're ever coming back. I think it was a big test, and we all just decided to roll with it. And the ones that didn't go with it, I think, were sacrificed because the majority of people did. The majority of people really did believe they were doing the right thing. You know? Turns out, they might have been wrong. We can't go back in time, people, and change what has happened. We can go forward. We can affect the future. We have the ability to do that. So, I think I'm not even sure what to do at this point. A place where I was considering moving to. I don't know if you guys remember the volcano that erupted. Basically, there's a study that alludes to the fact that when these eruptions take place, generally you have bad weather patterns. It's something to do with El Niño as well as currently taking place. So that on top of that might lead to unfavorable weather conditions. Basically, the place I was thinking of moving to just has had the most rain they've ever had. It's been insane. I might not even be moving there anymore because of that. I think I'm just staying where I am at the moment. Unless, and that's the thing, unless there's a better place to go to. But with the whole policy of travel, I might not be able to. Literally trapped in my own country. Literally. Can you imagine going on a holiday anytime soon? I'm not sure you can, unless you've toed the line and you've earned your freedoms through obedience. So I really think, forgetting all that, we should probably be aware of this, you know. Where we can, try and push back, try and get better policy, try and get a better world. Otherwise, we're going to sit back and be ruled by the people who we think are too stupid to be in politics. But yet we're the dumb ones not influencing anything. I know it's the worst, but if we sit back and do nothing, what have we seen so far over the last 4 years? We've seen cryptocurrency get better. That's been one good thing. But we have seen lots of crashes. We've seen lots of people run off with people's money. We've seen people bring lots of attention to this area, you know, bad, negative attention. All the while, though, there's been something with 100% uptime, flawless operation. No one cares about that, though. Immutable, trustless. You know, a founder that teaches, not your keys, not your coins, warns about the scams. And then the scams take place, and it's like, he told you. A community that tries to teach others about operational security based on not your keys, not your coins. Don't leverage trade, don't gamble. Like, how hard is that? With the cryptocurrency space, they think cryptocurrency is like leverage trading, shilling links, buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. That's innovation, you know? And the innovation is directly telling you what you can't buy. That's stopping innovation. And I'm pretty sure on those platforms, they offer leverage trading. I hope regulators understand this. I hope they can read code. I hope they understand the on-chain data. The software's got a lot better. But people's ability to study this and learn, I question. The people right at the top, do they even understand half the stuff I know? I doubt it. They're too busy being told what to do, being fed through a narrative. The same people, you know, they might not like Andrew Tate. They might not like other platforms I like. And therefore, I get put on the outskirts. Therefore, my message doesn't get through. Therefore, I have no say unless I actively go out and try and punch through. Peacefully, politically, legally and lawfully. Push back on legislation. Try and teach people how it should be. Try and warn people. Look at the supply lines. Look at who's influencing us. Look who's attacking us. Look who's being funded. Why are we funding them? Who's funding it all? There's not some conspiracy about a global cabal and we just talk about and don't do shit. We actually have to do something. Eventually, if enough of us understand this, maybe more people start making content. Maybe more people start teaching other people about what cryptocurrency is. Maybe they start teaching about what's really going on in the world. Maybe they get active in politics. Maybe they vote a certain way. Maybe they want a better future. You know? Why do we sit back and just do nothing? Expect the next person to do something. We need to look in the mirror and understand that the reason the world is in this position because you haven't made the change. You haven't done nothing. I'm talking to myself here, man. Like, I don't know. I just hope. I hope the October surprise is a fizzle and nothing happens. Signing out.